20 years ago tonight that local meteorologists breathed a sigh of relief. All week they have been warning us about a big blizzard, but when it didn't show up in the morning as predicted, they got nervous. However, the snow arrived in the evening and didn't stop until the end of the next day. Here's a clip from one of our crew members as the snow fell overnight.
This is John's car after coming in from Cy Daisy in the middle of the night. As you can tell, it's covered with a little bit of snow here, just a tad. We used to have a curb here somewhere. We don't know where it is anymore.
There were footprints where we walked out.
Yeah, there were footprints here about 5 minutes ago when we walked out here in the snow. They'd be gone. And for those people that don't know what this is called, it's called a blizzard.
It would get much worse the next day, though. We'll show it all to you in a 30-minute special coming up immediately after our show. It's at 7:30. Patrick Core and Chip Chapman are your hosts. And you'll also be able to purchase the show on DVD. We'll tell you all the details during the show. The 93 blizzard 20 years later.
Well, the storm may have started on this night 20 years ago, but the effects lasted for weeks. Some people were without power for a week afterwards. Reporter Stephen Roof shows us the struggle that crews had restoring power in this report from the News 12 archives.
Trees being on the line, stuff like that, it makes it kind of hard. The tree trimmers have been getting out, trying to get ahead of us. They've been doing a good job, too.
If there are any heroes from the blizzard of '93, you'd have to consider these guys. Most have been working around the clock to restore power to homes and businesses.
When we got down to 11 degrees in the lows, it was really hard to work out here. I got sympathy for the people out here that they're having to live in this without any heat. So that's an extra incentive for us to work a little harder, get as much work turned out as we can, get these customers' lights back on.
This crew drove here all the way from Memphis. They knew what to expect, having worked after hurricanes in both South Carolina and Louisiana. But they say they've never been treated better than Chattanooga.
It's a good feeling seeing somebody needing somebody to get their power on, and they jump around like they just had a new baby when they get it on.
Catherine Yother has been without power since Saturday, and naturally she got excited when the crew showed up in her front yard this afternoon.
I told them I'd cook them a meal if they would get my power back on. I'll fix something. I don't have anything left in my refrigerator. It's all ruined. Just go.
Catherine should have power by tonight, but other customers won't be so lucky. Power board officials say it will be another 3 to 4 days before all service is restored.
Well, we've invited that same reporter back tonight for a recap of that blizzard of '93, and with us here, Stephen Roof, now associate professor from the Southern Adventist University, and 20 years ago today.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
I guess the first question is, what were you thinking then, and what are you thinking right now when you look back on that video?
Right, as I was looking at that package, it was like, it was one thing, most of the snowstorms we would get here, by the next day the roads are slushy, by the third day the snow has disappeared from the roads, but this storm, the snow didn't go away. It just stayed because it was so cold. That was so unusual, the wind and the sub-freezing temperatures, which made it more difficult for the linemen trying to restore power.
Yeah, and I guess, what were your thoughts before the storm? What was the thinking around the news?
We were listening to you and David Neal, right? What were you saying, 12, maybe 14 inches? What was it?
Yeah, I was 10 to 12, and I'm thinking, wow, I can't believe I under forecasted
and
that.
we get 23.
Yeah.
That is just, I lived in East Tennessee all my life, never seen snow like that. I remember that Saturday morning looking out the back deck of my sliding glass door and those drifts coming up 3 feet high. Just never imagined anything like that.
And we all remember, what was our family doing? Now, you have some interesting experiences there, too.
I wasn't on storm crew that weekend. I was kind of marooned at home, so my family remembers it as the time when Daddy or Stephen was home during a snowstorm, because mostly I was out doing live shots on Montego Mountain someplace, But I was home for a couple of days, but then News 12 got a truck in, a four-wheeler or something to bring me to work, and it was this nonstop storm coverage, talking to people who were still without power. I called my mom last night. She's 90 years old. I said, Mom, how long were you guys without power? She said, well, and then she asked my dad, well, Dad says 7 days. I think it was 8 days. Either way, that's a long time. Those homes were getting cold. It was like 50 degrees inside the house, and you were lucky to maybe have a fireplace with some wood and cooking food on a camp stove. And I think that really tested people's patience.
Yeah, but you remember those memories, and it's like, It was almost like it was yesterday, yet it was 20 years ago. And I guess the biggest thing that we think about now is we haven't had anything
Nothing
like
like
that since.
close. No. Will we ever with global warming?
Well, you just never know. Obviously, you could have had some global warming back then,
Yeah,
but still, it takes a kind of perfect type storm. And memories of 1993 for us are probably fresh on folks' minds, especially with Hurricane Sandy.
That's true. My brother just lived through it. He lives up in Connecticut. 33 inches about a month
Yeah.
ago, and yeah, they were without power for days.
Yeah, so it was, I guess, a memorable storm, that is for sure. And when you think about that now, things have grown up where you live, and things have grown up all around the Tennessee Valley. If that happened right around now, with everything growing up, what would you think would happen?
Oh, I don't know. Probably more gridlock. I don't know. There's as many roads. I think one lasting memory of this storm, though, is the camaraderie and the community that emerged. You know, if you didn't know your neighbor across the street or next door,
You did.
You did after this storm, because people helped each other. They delivered firewood. Some were cooking for others. I had 4 house guests in my home because I had power sooner than others. And that's a lasting memory.
Yeah, that is true. The communities came together, families came together, and it was a miserable time for some, but it became a wonderful time and a bonding time for a lot of us. So it's 20 years ago tonight. And Stephen, hey, thank you for coming and joining us.
Enjoyed being back at News 12.
I tell you, wonderful memories and some different memories for a lot of us. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Prime News at 7 right after this.